welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ruth Kim. If it's your first year, I share my own lifestyle as a foreigner living here in Germany. So if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. As you can see, guys, we have a very beautiful guest, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
What's up, beautiful people? My name is Maryanne Mwangi. I am a Kenyan living in Germany. I recently became a nurse. This is my beautiful friend Ruth, and we're coming to you live from Hamburg.
Yes, guys, you've heard she currently became a nurse and she graduated, I think, not even 2 weeks ago. So guys, and I thought, who am I if I can't bring the fresh one from the market before people grab her? Anyway, guys, I just want her to share with us how the Ausbildung was. If you guys don't know what Ausbildung is, it's apprenticeship, right? And Maryanne, just tell us something small about yourself. Like, how long have you been here? How did you come here? Like,
Yeah, so like I said, my name is Maryanne. I am a Kenyan, and I have been in Germany for right about 4 years, and I live in the state of Niedersachsen. I came to Germany as an au pair, and I worked for 1 year for a German family, and then I quickly transitioned into an apprenticeship, which I recently just concluded. Yeah.
so Maryanne, after you were au pair, you went straight to the Ausbildung, the apprenticeship.
Yes.
You didn't do the FSJ?
No, I did not do the FSO.
Wow. And which German level did you leave Kenya with? Like,
So when I was preparing to do the au pair, I actually concluded the B1 level in Kenya, and I moved to Germany with a German family, and I taught myself B2, and then I quickly transitioned into the C1 class. And when I was taking the C1 class, I took the B2 exam. So with the B2 certificate, I was able to start the apprenticeship immediately after my au pair.
guys, do you know why I'm surprised? Because most of us come here with A1 level of German. That's why I was asking her how she managed to move from au pair to Ausbildung directly. Like, you saved a whole year. Because most of us come as au pairs, then we have to do a volunteer service, FSJ or BFT, and she just skipped that step. Amazing. By the way, I'm so proud of her, because I'm the kind of a person who share stories of how people get here and how you can become a better person, and she just did it. She made it.
I must admit that your videos definitely helped me a lot to transition, especially from au pair into apprenticeship. Even though I was really torn between really taking an FSJ or not, because it's the normal way that people do it. But your videos definitely give me the right information. They put me towards the right direction. And
do you know what? I normally say, listen to other people's experiences, but make your own experience. What if you just thought, si kila mtu anapitianga, see everybody does FSJ, so just let me do it. You know, she watched our video, did her own research, but she decided to follow her own experience. Anyways, before we get to the Ausbildung part, let me ask you, how important is the German language if you want to do all that?
I definitely think that German language is the most important aspect of staying here. You might stay here if you're an English speaker and have your way around things, but if you want to have a long-term stay in Germany, German language is definitely the most important thing. It's one of those things you have to pay the most attention to, and more so if you want to study here. It's definitely even easier for you to find a job, even if you study like technical courses and everything where you might not need German on your day-to-day working activities. You might definitely need it to even get to the job.
So, like you said, your German was good. You had C2 when you started your Ausbildung.
C1, yeah.
Let's talk about someone who has no idea. They're here in Germany. They have the German language, but they don't know where to start before they apply for an Ausbildung. The paperwork, because you come here to, if you're Kenyan with the German Kenyan certificate, how does it work? Like now in currently, because we did it back then, how is it working now?
Okay, so when it comes to the paperwork that you need for your Ausbildung, you definitely need the confirmation of your German language. If you don't get this, you might have your way around it by going to multiple interviews and expressing yourself and mentioning that you're working on your German, but by formality, the level of the German language that you require to start an Ausbildung in Germany is definitely B2. You acquire B2 by studying German for at least 1 year. And so if you're already in Germany, I'm assuming you probably have A1 or A2, and if you don't, then you definitely have to visit a German course and get to as far as B2 just for a start. When it comes to the rest of the paperwork, you need a confirmation of your A-levels with 2 years of work experience, or confirmation of your O-levels. If you come from Kenya, you definitely need your KCSE certificate or confirmation of at least 12 years of school. However you want to confirm that is left upon your Ausbildung employer. There are people who could actually employ you even with Form 2. You just need to be able to find your way around it and really express yourself honestly during your interview. Aside from that, there are certain things you have to do in preparation of your documents. For example, in my state, Niedersachsen, you do not need to certify your documents before you start your application. Before you start your application process, but there are some states in Germany, like in Bayern and the more southern parts of Germany, where you definitely need to send your documents to the Kultusministerium that are responsible for recognition and certification of your documents. And by documents, I mean your KCSE certificate. As soon as you've gotten the Anerkennung, the recognition, the certification of your documents, you're allowed to send them into the institutions of your Ausbildung. Say, are you doing your Ausbildung in a senior's home, or are you doing it at a hospital? So then you send these certified documents into these institutions, and then you'll be called for an interview, and that's how it goes on and on.
How long does the process take, like this Anerkennung and all that? So let's say you are on your 6th month of au pair. Is the 6 month enough, the rest of the time enough for you to prepare the document, Anerkennung, translation and all that?
I certainly think 6 months is enough if you have the language. If you don't have the language, you definitely have to start earlier and be mentioning it in your interviews that you still have 9 months of au pair visa to go to the end of your contract, so they can be able to consider the fact that you have time to study your German language and improve yourself before the start of your Ausbildung. So if you're an au pair and you already have B1, 6 months is enough for you to apply for this process, to send in your documents for certification. If you don't have 6 months time and you don't have B1, you should be definitely considering applying for FSJ, because it then gives you enough time to transition into the Ausbildung. And not only does it help your language, it also prepares you prior for the kind of job you'll be doing when you start your Ausbildung training to becoming a nurse.
Let's say now you have all your documents ready and you want to go ahead and start the Ausbildung. Where do you start? Like approaching the hospitals? Because we are talking about the nursing Ausbildung here. Do you start by approaching the hospital or by approaching the schools?
It depends. There are 2 ways to approach this application. Some schools do offer both the contract for your practical and your theory, and some schools offer only the theory, and some schools only offer the practical. I personally did it at an institution where I did both my practical and my theory at the same institution. But if you're looking to start the application process, you definitely have to research on what institutions are relevant to the Ausbildung that you're going to be doing. Are you someone that needs more practical in the clinical area? Are you someone that needs more practical in the seniors area? So you definitely have to look down what institution is most relevant to your application. And when you start your application, you start by applying for the theory plots. As soon as you have the theory plots, then you can be looking for the practical plots. So the theory part is where you'll be doing the 2,100 hours of theory and 2,500 hours of practical.
Let's say now you have your contract, you have your documents ready, you have your contract, your theory contracts ready and practical contracts. Now as a foreigner, you need a visa. So do you go with your theory contract, or do you just go with the practical contract to apply for the visa?
So you've gathered all the documents that you need. prior to all this, as soon as you get the contract from your employer, who is now the institution that's going to be training you for your Ausbildung, they give you a whole list of documents that you're going to be needing. Some of the documents that you might need are like confirmation of registration of address, tax identification number, confirmation of a public insurance, and that kind of stuff. So you do get a huge list of documents from your employer that you're supposed to walk through before you go and apply for a visa. Because once you take your theory and practical contract, you take both of them to your institution, because they need to see how much you make to be able to determine whether you can be able to sustain a living by yourself here in Germany. So you do actually take both your theory and your practical contract, and if you were lucky enough to find an institution that offers both the theory and the practical, then you just take the single contract that you have with you to the immigration office. At the immigration office, they are going to request you for a few documents like confirmation of address. That means before you get the contract, you should have known where you're going to be living. Are you going to be living at the institution? Have they given you confirmation of address? Are you going to be needing to look for an apartment to know where to live? This is definitely a difficult process, but you need to gather all the documents, and as you go to the immigration office, you have to understand that you're not really applying for the visa. They're literally asking you to give them what they need for them to allow you to do the Ausbildung. So it's definitely not a process of I want you to apply. I'm applying to get this visa. It's mostly like I'm applying to get the permission to do this Tätigkeit, this activity.
So Maryanne, now you have everything. You have your visa and you have your Ausbildung plans ready. So let's say someone is just starting now, like next August. What can you tell someone who is just starting? What's your advice to someone who just completed it?
For a start, one of the most important things is definitely your German. And so if your German is not good, I would really urge you to bring it up to speed prior to the beginning of your Ausbildung. And as soon as you start, don't wait for any pressure to study. Just start studying as soon as the beginning of the Ausbildung, because the end is not as far as it looks. I personally just concluded 3 years, and I cannot tell you how 3 years just really went by. And I know some of the things that really helped me throughout my Ausbildung was taking care of the first 1 year of my Ausbildung, which was really, really relevant to even my later revision for my exam. So if you're starting, be keen enough to bring your German up to speed at the beginning, and start studying as early as possible. And of course, keep an eye on the probation time. Check what are the most important things for your school. Is punctuality a thing for them? Is your German a thing for them? So you will be able to see some of the processes that are important for your school. And for the start, those are the things you're supposed to be very careful about, especially the probation time. An Ausbildung is an apprenticeship training. Better said, I think it's a vocational training. In Germany, it's a very well-recognized way of acquiring an education, acquiring a profession, a career in Germany. It's a very common way that people acquire a career in Germany through a practical practice of what you're going to be doing in the job market. So the Ausbildung mostly focuses on the practical part, unlike the university that focuses more on the theory and Akademisierung and academics.
So we have people who are like the language. They have done up to maybe B2, but they still can't like express themselves. You know what you want to say, but the moment you start speaking before people or in front of people, it disappears. Do you have any tips?
Yeah, I usually say this is probably just how I learned my German. Everything that you can write, you can speak. So when you can't speak, write. And the more you write, the easier it is for you to speak. Rather, that's how it worked for me. And again, you can't say what you don't know. So you might have B2, but your vocabulary is not up to speed. So you have to have enough vocabulary in your head to be able to say what you need to say. So work on your vocabulary, bring it up to speed. Let it be that even if I can't speak it, if someone else says it, I can understand it. And if that's not the case, write as often as you can, because what you can write, if you give your body and your mind time, you can speak.
What about those people who have the issues when it comes to the practical side? Maybe you don't get along with your colleagues, you don't get along with your mentor. How can you advise such a person?
Definitely the hardest part of the Ausbildung is definitely the practical part. This is just my experience. I believe that the theory part, you can bring yourself up to speed, you can sit down and study, you can highlight your weaknesses and work on them, but the practical part is literally dependent on whom you meet and how they take you, how they accept you, how they receive you. What worked for me, I did of course also have challenges throughout my Ausbildung. I did meet people whom I wasn't really very pleased to have met. What worked for me was keeping in mind that I am the student and I am the one on the receiving end of the information. So it did actually quite help me to take a step back and not always be the one to bring things up. But of course, when things also got very hot, I would tell you that I don't like this and that, and if you can't have that conversation then we can have that conversation in a more formal environment where my teachers can be brought and they can speak for me, and your colleagues can be brought and they can speak for you, and we can find a solution. So the best thing is to take a step back, reevaluate things. Remember, you're the one on the receiving end, and if things are too hot, don't be afraid to call for that conversation, because at the end of the day, a lot of things are misunderstandings, but we cannot also say that people are not bad out here. Yeah,
we have people, like most of us foreigners, after the first year or the second year, you feel like it's too much. What would you tell someone who is like feeling like this is not it? You know, there's some people who like they do their Ausbildung because they don't have any other option. You want to stay here in Germany, so you just do the Ausbildung because Ruth, Maryanne, everyone else is doing their Ausbildung, and when you start doing it and you're in the middle of it, you feel like this is not my thing. What would you tell such a person?
I would say, and this is very difficult for me to say as a nurse, because you either can or you cannot. Now, so if you're finding yourself in a position where you've come to the realization that this is not what you like, take a step back and reevaluate why exactly are you doing it. So if you're doing it for the papers, remember to do it for the papers until you actually get the papers. And as you sit and feel like this is not what I like, sit and also think of what you like, because as soon as you have the papers, then you can do what you like. Just my thought as a nurse, don't be nursing people if you don't want to.
But Maryanne, I mean, sometimes you might do the Ausbildung and this is not what you wanted. But after the Ausbildung, there are so many opportunities. You can further yourself and make yourself a better person. And with that paper, it's normally so strong. Like you can even go to the uni and do something better. If you want something to sit in the office, you can just do Pflege management, or you can do Weiterbildung, become a PDL. Like if you have no any other paper and it's your only chance, just take it through. I always say take it through.
Absolutely. If you need it for the papers, go ahead and push it to the point where you get the papers. And if nursing, bedside nursing is exactly what you don't like Ruth says, there are definitely more possibilities of things that you can do. You can specialize in different areas in nursing. You can specialize even in administration if management and administration is what you like. You can even, at the end of the day, join the university and get a degree that pushes you towards what you like. I misunderstood the question. I thought you meant more like someone who really just doesn't care about it, doesn't even want it. But if you need the papers, go ahead and get it. Get the papers, then qualify yourself for something else and start something else. In the midst of feeling like this is not what you like, make sure you also find out what you like, so as soon as you conclude one thing that brings you a step further, you're able to move past that and do actually something that you like.
Maryanne is one of the people who just finished or qualified with the new nursing system that we have, Generalistic, or how is it called?
Generalistic.
Generalistic Ausbildung, it's Pflegefachmann und Pflegefachfrau. Fachfrau. They are the first people to come out. They are the first product. And one thing I thought is like these people, they know everything from everywhere. Like they were all over the place. How was it like?
I must admit it was definitely a very beautiful experience to be in the clinical nursing, to be in the geriatric nursing, to be the pediatric nursing, and also having a quite short view at the psychiatric nursing. It definitely prepares you for a bigger and better world outside your Ausbildung, which I definitely found to be very, very, very important. And I would wish that for every person who wants to become a nurse, I would like for them to decide in what area they would like to specialize after they've seen as much as they can throughout their training.
What about the theory part? Like, is it as hard as I imagine personally, because you have to put all that information and knowledge in your head? Is it like difficult?
I would not exactly say it's easy, but I would also not very much call it difficult. Again, people have different strengths. Math may be your thing, math may not be your thing. The same way science and arts could be your thing and it's not your thing. I definitely think it requires a certain amount of seriousness, and if you have it, you can get through it.
One of the biggest challenge that you faced. One.
Okay. I think it wasn't one situation per se, it was definitely the whole experience of the Ausbildung and having to suit myself rather to... I counted recently and I realized I met 13 teams of different people throughout my Ausbildung, and that was one of the most difficult things, because as soon as you work for 4 weeks with these people, just when you're getting to know them, you have to leave and start getting to know another team, and that for me was the most difficult part of the Ausbildung, because in as much as it takes 4 weeks to like a team, it might also take 4 weeks to really not like someone or like the team, and as soon as you're just getting into it, you have to move on to the next level. It's definitely positive, it can also be negative, and I did experience it of course as positive because I got to have a view in different areas of nursing, but at the end of it I did have to work with so many teams, and it was quite difficult adjusting to every person that you meet and whatever they like.
No, you just completed your course. Does the CATs count, that like the exams you do from the first year, second year, third year, or you just did a new exam or something? How was it?
So throughout my Ausbildung, I think I took a little bit less than 10 exams throughout my Ausbildung, and they did make out 25% of my final result. So yes, the cuts do count. 25% is also not so much, because at the end of the day you do have to first of all pass the exam with a 4. That's like 60% of the whole 3 exams that you do. You do a theory exam, a practical exam, and an oral exam. So you have to pass each of these exams with like 60%, and then the 25% that you gathered throughout the cuts and the practical phases that you had throughout your Ausbildung, then improve your final grade to by 0.25%, by 25%. Yeah.
Guys, we're going to like end the video. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask in the comment section. And by the way, she didn't even mention she's a content creator, but let me ask her last question. Mwangi, now you're done with the Ausbildung. Unafanya nini? What are you doing?
So I'm currently working at a Catholic hospital here in Niedersachsen. Of course, I don't mention my employer online, and I'm working full-time at an orthopedic station, and I take care of patients that have issues with their bones, and that's currently my interest.
How does it feel to be a nurse?
It definitely has a thrill, I won't lie. It definitely has a thrill, and I didn't think the thrill would be there. Genuinely like it, and I hope to hold it for a long time.
Yeah, but don't remain there. Don't be just a nurse. Make sure you spread your wings. Anyways, guys, we're going to end the video. Mwangi has a YouTube channel. She does content about nursing, how to come to Germany, au pair, FSU, all that. I'm going to put the link to her channel on the description box, so check her out. And if you have any questions, leave them on the comment section. She's going to answer them for you. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and see you next time. Bye.